Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Get ready for Talking Heads, the show where expert insights meet world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Brought to you by USA Global TV and Radio. Meet our distinguished presenters. From the great state of Texas, longevity expert, award-winning author, publisher, and distinguished Toastmaster, Red O'Loughlin. From London, England, soul heart awakener, novelist, vocal coach, and artist, Dr. Madeline Chan. Also from England, the Harley Street stress expert, therapist, ambassador for peace, and speaker, Carolyn HEWARD. And from Australia, ICF PCC credentialed coach, entrepreneur, and leadership coach, Mariska Dupria. Experience their expertise, connect with their wisdom, and transform your perspective. Watch Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This video and its contents are the property of USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. Visit usaglobaltv.com for more details.
Hello, welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Caroline HEWARD and I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. I'm the resident therapist on USA Global TV and Radio, and I'm also a TV presenter on this particular episode and this as an expert presenter in Talking Heads, and I am also the host for A Woman's Prerogative, which is a weekly show on a Monday. I'm an expert presenter in today's topic, which is part of the Mind and Body Connection series. Our episode today is Narcissists, Nations and Narratives, the Tactics of Manipulation. Before I go ahead and launch into this topic, it's really important for me to mention that this particular channel, I have been on the channel since the 7th of July 2021, so almost 4 years. And in that time, there's been a huge growth of this channel under the leadership and presidency of Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. She has recently been awarded the coveted YouTube Silver Creator Award with over 100,000 subscribers. The figures on Monday were over 103,000. I feel very privileged to be here on this channel and to be part of the expert team. And I feel very emotional that we have reached, that Dr. Jacqueline and her team, her entire team, have reached that global reach, and we are reaching the stars for more. She has 2 channels and the second channel is over 30,000. So please do subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio and be part of our movement and part of our mission, because we are here to educate, to inspire and to create hope and inspiration. So that's what I wanted to share with you in terms of the privilege it is to be sharing my wonderful content with you today. So our topic today is Narcissists, Nations and Narratives, the Tactics of Manipulation. This is something that's very dear to my heart because it's something that I have studied, and I have had to study as part of my training what Adolf Hitler did to create an entire country to go to war. And I've kept that training and that knowledge quite back because of the backlash of people's comments. But I feel that it's important to to talk about this topic in terms of how manipulation is carried out and what happens, how we can get blinkered into believing something that is not quite reality or not quite true. So the power of orator nation level manipulation. And just bringing up Adolf Hitler, what he did is there was a problem. There was a worldwide problem and an economic downturn. And Germany was suffering an extreme downturn economically. There was high unemployment. There were people not working and not able to provide for their families. There were children that were starving. And Adolf Hitler had attended and been part of World War I. And when they lost the war, he was actually really upset. He was very patriotic to his country and he wanted to make a difference. So he set about with that spur of almost revenge that he wanted to create something better and make Germany a world superpower. And so he became very patriotic about his country and bringing together all the divineness of what would make the country, Germany, successful and be seen as a world country leader. And so what he did was he identified that there was a huge problem in Germany in terms of high unemployment, low morale, and low economic activity. And he decided to make a difference, to make Germany great again. A bit like I'm hearing make America great again and make Great Britain great again. It seems to be an oratory speech that many leaders have used. So there's a problem. You identify the problem and broadcast that problem. And then you heighten the sensitivity of the knowledge of that problem with great oratory speeches. And then you find a way and you deliver speeches, great oratory speeches of serving the people and serving the nation with a solution. So when you've heightened the problem, identified it, heightened the level of the severity of the problem, then the people are willing and open to accept a solution. And this is one of the strategies that was done that was a high level of manipulation. So what else happened? Back then, in the 1940s, there was very little in the way of media as there is today. So taken over the media was a big thing. So the press were taken over. So there was one distinguished press newspaper that was used for all the communication for the country. The broadcast channels, there was only one recognised and used channel. And then there was only one recognised and used radio. And then when you have those three methods of communication, radio, TV, and press, it's really easy to then give out the messages on those different channels. So they're the same message. In a word, you could say anything. And when people are hearing that same message over and over and over again, there are many ways that you can be manipulated into believing, well, it's everywhere. That messaging is everywhere. It's on the TV, it's on the radio, it's in the media, in the press. So it must be true. And this is how you can say something that is untrue and make it believable. And this is what is known as propaganda, because you can say anything and lead a nation, lead a country to war. And that is exactly what happened. A country went to war and created world war. Now, I don't have any politics around this in terms of right and wrong, but Adolf Hitler, he didn't do anything illegal. He kept to the rules. And I'm going to explore this a little bit further in terms of whatever we believe, and when there's a great oratory speech, and when there is great attendance and great presence, and he had incredible presence, that one of the reasons why I had to study Hitler, which was difficult, was the fact that he took a nation, an entire country, to war. How did one person do that? By mass communication of one distinct message and one distinct utopia that people believed. And so even the very young went to war. And in essence, it was almost what you might call a mass hypnosis when you hear the same message from everywhere, from all different media channels. And bearing in mind, there wasn't many media channels. You could be forgiven for believing this message is the truth. Outside of the country, there was obviously a different understanding and a different awareness. So the leader is charismatic. This is something that's important to understand. Manipulation comes from leadership that is charismatic, and they use fear and language as part of their arsenal to manipulate you and to make you believe whatever their story is. So some of the key traits and key actions and points about orators is that they are using the language to unify or divide. Let's look at that a little closely. Unify or divide. In recent times, there has been many instances of division. There's Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. That creates a divide. There's vaccination, not vaccination. That's a divide. There is going to war, not wanting to go to war. There's been a huge divide on recent wars that have been going on where people don't want to go to war. And then there's people that say, you know, we must do this, we must fight for our country, and we must make it right. There is all sorts of divides. And even in the celebrity world, there's been a divide. Not that I follow celebrity divides and divisions very much, but there was Johnny Depp and his wife. That was a divide, whoever you supported. So there is huge divisions. And I can think of so many where the conversation creates a divide. And when you divide the people, you conquer. This is the height of manipulation. When you have people coming together in unison, in one chord and in one song, there is triumph and there is conquering and there is winning. But when you divide the nations into thinking one against the other, it creates an us and them. And when the us and them, this is the height of manipulation, when you create an us and them. So consider when you move into a place of division. In the UK particularly, I can remember there was a lot of people when there was a huge divide on the Brexit leave or stay, and many people wanted to leave, and there was a smaller minority that wanted to stay without really understanding why. There was never really big reasons or what would happen, how it would look. It was just the narrative. It was the message, the great oratory messages. We will make Great Britain great again. We will take back our country. I saw it and observed it without getting into it. And I did see a huge amount of divide. And so consider where you have been divided in opinion and how it feels to be on the wrong side of that division. How does it feel when someone is arguing the point of they're right and you're wrong, or you're right and they're wrong? To play in that game of right and wrong is to play the blame game, and that divides us, and that creates a conquering, that creates a nation in division where nobody really wins apart from whoever is creating the divide. So creating enemies to build identity and obedience. When you create a divide, you actually create the us and them game, and then the psychology of following orders. I remember watching a documentary in the Holocaust anniversary, and I hadn't really, when I was young, when I was a child, I wouldn't watch anything to do with war. And my personal perspective on that was, if I didn't see it, if I didn't know about it and I didn't hear about it, it wasn't happening. Because I was very much labelled a pacifist by friends when I was young. And that was my stance. And then when I went to study and I had to learn about the war and the impact on different nations, countries, and how different countries came together to rebuild. And one of the examples that really struck an emotional chord with me was the war with Vietnam and America. And although it was a very difficult war, America went in to rebuild the country because they had an understanding of the culture, the people, their likes, what they didn't like, what would work, what wouldn't work. And I thought, wow, that's an important part. That's a really positive perspective to gain from the fact that two countries were in a difficult and challenging war, and yet they came together in a place of peace. I thought that was amazing. And it made me want to explore and look. And when I did look, and I watched a lot of the anniversary documentaries about the Holocaust, and I saw grown men and women, very mature grown men and women, saying they didn't know what was really going on. And it's almost irreconcilable to believe that they didn't know. Remember, when all of the media is taken over, the print, newspapers, the TV and the radio, back then, that's all the communication. And because it was there and it was really on all the waves of the media channels, they believed and didn't hear anything else. Obviously, that I feel would be very difficult now because we're in such a global, social, economic environment where we have social media and we have many channels. But then how many channels do we really have? And I happen to know that from my marketing and PR background, there are only 7 major companies that own all of the media in the world, the main media channels. So that kind of gives you another perspective on, well, there isn't that many, even though there are hundreds of channels. And this is not owned by one of the big channel media owners. So us and them, it creates a divide. What we're looking for, what the main orators are looking for, and the main manipulators, they are looking to create fear. And when you break down fear, fear breaks down to false evidence appearing real. When you're in fear of something, it takes you out of your comfort zone and it moves you into a place of scarcity. It moves you into a place of feeling very ungrounded and in a place of uncomfortableness of your own personal identity. And it creates a challenge in terms of where do I belong? And so when there is this us and them, there will be a movement for many people to want to belong, to want to feel part of everything. And so even though something might not feel right, they will go with the majority or what's being said as to be true, to be right. And it makes people question their own ability or their own thinking. And it creates a disbelief and a disincentivization to critically think about what information is being given to you. So what makes a great orator also potentially dangerous? Well, the fear and the manufacture of the gain from mass control is unbelievable. It's unprecedented. And citizens will take action in terms of what they're hearing and what's being said, because they desire to be part of that great nucleus of people that they want to belong. So the broad masses of a population are amenable to the appeal of rhetoric than any other force. Adolf Hitler said this. Let me repeat that. The broad masses of a population are more amenable to the appeal and rhetoric than any other force. Adolf Hitler. Winston Churchill, he said, "We shall fight on the beaches." Winston Churchill. And I recently watched a documentary film about Winston Churchill. And that was his line to take Great Britain to war. And I watched that documentary film drama, and it was called The Longest Hour. And it was the build-up to, do we go in and fight or do we create war? And so what Winston Churchill did is he asked a number of people on a train. He travelled to Westminster on a tube and he asked people's opinion. What do you think we should do? How do you feel about going to war? Do you want to fight for your country? Do you want to lose your identity? There were really interesting conversations and comments, and the comments broadly said, no, we want to fight for our country. We will not let him win. And this was really quite overwhelmingly emotional, because he went into the House of Commons straight after that train journey. And he had and gave an incredible, inspirational oratory speech. And it ended, "We shall fight on the beaches." And there were people in the room in the House of Commons that looked around at each other and said, what did he just say? What's going on? Because it was an inspirational, we are going to war. Even though a lot of people wanted peace, he gave an inspirational speech, great oratory to go to war. It was rooted in inspiration during the wartime, and it had unwavering compliance. Even people that wanted peacetime, it became unwavering, that they believed it was the right thing to do. Now, I'm not saying Winston Churchill was wrong, that this is how great oratory speeches can create and manipulate a population into doing something that maybe they're not quite personally in agreement with. And I've mentioned some big things so that you can see how it can change the way that a society, a population, a country, a world can decide against what they truly believe. They can be swept up with the inspiration and the charisma. The psychological manipulation and obedience It fosters blind obedience. Let's look at Martin Luther King, his imprisonment. As a contrast, Martin Luther King was an extraordinary orator, speech maker. I have a dream, is what he said. And it's written in so many speeches, in so many books, how he changed a world, how he changed the country. I have a dream. Now, we had something different to share. And he was incarcerated because he was inspirational in his oratory speeches. He inspired the Black community to stand up and be counted, but not from a violent perspective, from a non-violent perspective. By standing together, he inspired resistance, not fear. Many people really adore what Martin Luther King Jr. did in terms of changing how people believed, how people thought about things, and more importantly, what they did. And instead of creating and changing things through fear, he created change through non-violent communication and non-violent experiences of standing up for what the people believed was right. So non-violent demonstrations. Even if they were provoked, they would not fight back. It was inspiring because people did fight back for what they felt was right. That this was manipulation from a different perspective, ruling from fear, but ruling from inspiration. And it changed things. It changed things in a radical way. It changed things to such a point that even in his incarceration, Martin Luther King did not give up his non-violent approach. And then when they did release him, he came in despite the fact that he had suffered and he was incarcerated for many, many years. He decided to still continue his non-violent communication and became a very recognized public figure. This is how we can create change. So manipulation can be an inspirational manipulation, or it can be coming from a place of fear and obedience. Compliance versus conscience. So when you are in a place of manipulation, it can suppress your moral reasoning. It can suppress what you truly want to do versus what you are being told to do. It takes a very strong person to decide to do something different against what's being given as the narrative. It takes a much stronger person to not be manipulated, to feel and say something different, because when you stand out and stand up for something different, this is where you can be alienated, chastised, and believed to be wrong. And in our current society that we have at the moment, it's called cancel culture. You can be cancelled, not be able to get work, not be derobed, be deprofessionalized, and be cast out. And nobody wants to be cast out. And this is one of the reasons why people generally comply to mass manipulation. So when you do stand out, the people that stand out are truth tellers, or manipulation can create people to move into a silence, that they don't like what they're hearing, so they go silent or withdraw. Almost if you go silent and withdraw, it's as bad as being part of the crowd that is saying yes to what you truly believe internally is not good. And this is something that can leave a very heavy burden on the person that does not believe the narrative, does not believe the manipulation, and critically thinks something different. Martin Luther King said, "A riot in the language of the unheard, a riot in the language of the unheard, to be silent, but to demonstrate peacefully." Never forget that everything Hitler did in Germany was legal. Never forget that everything that Hitler did in Germany was legal, was a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. So how do we reconcile this? This is looking at the global economics, the political environment, and the political landscape of peace and war. This is also looking at, if you look under the surface of that, narcissistic relationships. We're all people and we're all human if we consider that these people are still human, and yet they had great power in the oratory that they used in their speeches. So let's look at the personal battlefield, the battlefield where manipulation can affect one-on-one relationships. Narcissistic traits include gaslighting, where you could be manipulated into believing something that is not true to your own reality, but you could start to believe that that is true, even though you don't believe it. You can be questioned. When somebody is gaslighted, it questions what you believe is real, what actually happened. Did you say that? Or did their representation of what you said agree with what you actually said? Did they hear you correctly? And if you are gaslighted over a period of many months, years, you can move into a place of believing what you're being told to believe. And after the gaslighting, before the gaslighting appears love bombing, where you're being bombed with love, with charisma, and with everything that's positive. How could you believe that somebody that has been so positive, so giving, so kind, so compassionate with you, do you a harm? That's just not possible. How could someone be so considered, give you so much? It's a way to manipulate you so that then when they do turn and gaslight you, you start to question your own reality. You start to question what was real. And then you pass it off as, oh, maybe it's me. And this is where control of the manipulator is gained, because you start to question, how can somebody be so amazing for 6 months, a year, however long they've been really amazing, and love bombed you, giving you all the attention that you've needed, giving you everything, whether it's in a personal relationship or a business relationship, but they've given you everything in a positive way. They've delivered. They've surpassed their delivery and your expectation. And then something changes. Maybe money's exchanged hands. Maybe they haven't delivered, but you keep passing it off. This is the height of manipulation. This is the height of gaslighting. And this is when you can be controlled through guilt. When you feel guilty for questioning because they've been so amazing to you. They've been so giving, so considered, so thoughtful, and so incredibly professional that it's hard to believe that they would do something that would cause you harm or, at worst, betray you. So victims become desensitized and they become compliant. They follow orders at home and in the workplace. So this is looking at the more personal level. So we've looked at the bigger picture, the nation, the global picture. And now we take that manipulation all the way back into how it appears in your personal life, within your workplace, with colleagues, within your family, with intimate partners. It can be really desensitizing when you hear constantly, you're no good, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that. If you hear these kinds of things many times, repeated, this is how the big advertising companies work. They keep saying the same message so that you can appeal to that message and associate the brand with the message. I remember when Nike first came out and there was the word Nike and then there was the tick. And then eventually, after all of the graphics, after many years, it became the tick. And so that was a recognition of the fact that that was the brand. And this is how advertising works. And advertising is really a repeated message many times so that you can believe and you can associate with the brand. You will lose in this manipulation your identity and move into a place of fear and then isolation. So how does emotional manipulation mirror national propaganda? And why do people stay in manipulative relationships? There was a charity that looked after battered women, and they did some research. It was many, many years ago when I was in marketing, so it must be at least 30 years ago that this charity did this charity research. And what they did was in the room, they invited 30 women to a cocktail party. And one of those women was an abused woman. And they invited, 50, not 30, 50 women. And one of them was an abused woman. They invited 50 men, and one of them was a serial abuser. I have 2 questions for you. The first one, it was a 2-hour cocktail party. There was 100 people in the room. Question 1, did they meet? 2 hours, 100 people in the room. If you believe they met, how long did it take them to meet? How long? 100 people in the room. A 2-hour cocktail party. It was 10 minutes it took them to meet. And that's because everything is vibration, everything is frequency. And this is what makes us go back time and time again. This is how a victim remains a victim, because it's familiar. It's what they know. And even though it's not good and it doesn't really serve them, it's what they know and what they're comfortable with. And you might question comfortable. When something's familiar, whether it's good or bad, we tend to draw to what's familiar. Even though we are suffering, we tend to draw to what's familiar. Here's another quote. If someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Maya Angelou. And this is an unknown quote. Gaslighting is when someone makes you question your reality. Yes. How many times have you questioned, I didn't say that. Who said that? No, I didn't mean it like that. Even a look, even your eyes, even an action, a gesture can be a gesture of manipulation. So breaking free from this manipulation, stepping into a place of awareness will give you strong empowerment. When you step into a place of awareness, when you know you are being manipulated, this is the first step to changing your reality and changing the outcomes. Recognizing it gives you a place and a position of resistance, and a recovery from manipulation into a place of being your own person and being able to critically think, feel, and decide what's right for you. Let's look at what the cost is to you if you are in a place of being manipulated. The cost to you is that you are living someone else's life. Live your own. The other person's life has been taken. You are your own person, and it's down to you to live your best life. I know from personal experience, we are here for a short time. It is important to live your life your way, even if it might be different from the people around you. One of my sayings is, I did it my way. I might not toe the party line, but I'm happy in what I decide to do. And it might be different to what most people want to do. And that doesn't make you wrong if it's different. It means that you are living your life, and yours is the only one that you can live. You can't live your life for a member of your family, for a friendship, for a relationship, and you can't live your life for an intimate partner. You live your life for you. Protect yourself every step of the way and step into the place of critically thinking rather than simply complying. To learn who rules over you, simply find out with who you are not allowed to criticize. This was said by Voltaire. Let me repeat that again. To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. I thought that was a really powerful, a hugely powerful quote. Who do you not criticize or feel that you cannot criticize, that they are always right? This will be a manipulator. How many times do you feel differently and yet you're not allowed to say? Feel strong in speaking your truth because the other person's truth might not be yours. Thank you very much for listening and for being part of this show. It's heavy content, and manipulation thrives in silence. Whether it's a tyrant's speech or a narcissist's whisper, awareness is the first act of resistance. Thank you for your attention and your interest. Please do subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we have over 103 subscribers on the main channel, and our secondary channel, we have over 30 subscribers. Please be part of our movement to educate, to inspire, and to give hope, and to give a place to come to find out more. There is a different way to live. Thank you very much. You can find all of my Talking Heads episodes on USA Global TV and Radio. Please do reach out if I may be of service to you. I offer one-to-one sessions, either over the internet, so online, or face-to-face. I'm based in the UK. Please do reach out to me if I can help you. This has been a very deep subject, and I've not even scratched the surface of it. Reach out to me on nomorestress@live.co.uk, or if you wish to book a session, email me at that address or send me a message on my LinkedIn profile, or call me on +44 if you're international. If you're local, 07523 120 189. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute honour to be here almost 4 years after I joined the channel. Namaste.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
From the magical world of the amazing adventures of Lady Ella comes a heartwarming new journey filled with kindness, courage, and compassion. Lady Ella, the beloved ladybug and listening mentor, is back, and this time she's not alone. Meet her brave and thoughtful brother, Lord Jack. Together, they take flight on their very first kindness adventure. Along the way, they meet 3 new friends in need: a duck feeling discouraged, a mouse struggling to be understood, and a busy little bee who's completely lost. But with the power of elevated listening and simple acts of kindness, Lady Ella and Lord Jack show us how understanding and empathy can make the biggest difference in someone's day. Written by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, this 9th book in the best-selling Lady Ella series teaches children ages 5 to 10 the essential skills of listening, kindness, and etiquette. Now available for pre-order on Amazon. Scan the QR code and order your copy today.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers, discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by executive producer and director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.